All right, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to another National Geographic Learning webinar today, where we're going to be talking a little bit about thinking skills, developing thinking skills. But just before we do that, let's run through the introductions and a little bit of the housekeeping, get things ready for today. So if you don't know me, my name is Andrew. I'm a senior academic consultant at National Geographic Learning. I've been working with National Geographic Learning for 3.5 years now. But all of my life, you can tell I'm not so young, all of my life I've been in education, a lot of English education. I've taught math and physics as well. I've taught lots of different things. I've been a learning and development person as well. So lots of different things going on that I hope I can share some ideas with you today about teaching National Geographic Learning programs. Now, just as we get started, I think everybody's pretty good, but just in the chat box, if you can just make sure just above where you type, it's set to everyone, and then everyone will be able to see the comments that you put in the chat box. And hello, Trang from Malaysia, and how do I say that? Gantamani in Thailand. Wow, there's lots of people jumping in. This is great. Okay, if you have questions today, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box. If you put them in the chat box, they tend to disappear before we can answer them. So if you drop them in the Q&A box, then that will help us keep track of them so we can answer them at the end. Okay? Wow, we've got lots of people here. Shirley in China, Diana in Taiwan, Nympha in the Philippines. I think it's Zhang Laoshi in Beijing, Masako in the Philippines. Wow, we've got people from everywhere today. So let's get started on what we're doing today. Today we're talking about developing thinking skills, and we're going to be talking specifically about cause and effect in nature. You know, at National Geographic Learning, what we like to do is bring the world into the classroom, make everything as authentic as we can. So today we're going to frame developing of thinking skills and specifically cause and effect around a true story from the natural world, okay? Talking about Yellowstone National Park, if you're familiar with that park in America. So we're going to be doing that and looking at that today. But before we get started, just wanted to talk a little bit about thinking skills. You would have seen these 12 top future ready skills in our last 2 or 3 webinars. Each of us has been mentioning these. I want you to look at that list. As we're talking today about developing thinking skills, which of these skills here do you think relate most to thinking? Which of these skills relate most to thinking? Let me know in the chat box what you think. So critical thinking, says Kitty. Yeah, so obviously critical thinking is a large thinking or a high focus thinking area, right? So there's definitely going to be critical thinking, but it's not the only one, right? So Kitty's also saying decision making. Okay, that can be linked to critical thinking. Problem solving. Yeah, that's true. What else have we got? EQ, yeah, emotional intelligence, right? These all relate to thinking as well. Maybe not quite so directly, but if we want to solve a problem, we have to think about how we're going to do this, right? If we're trying to make decisions with other people, right? And if we're involving other people, we might be involving factors of emotional intelligence as well. Then they're all related to thinking, right? You're going to have to think through that problem first, okay? Someone's saying active learning skills. Yeah, so you can say that active learning, you're going to have to think about what areas do I need to develop in and how can I think about or how can I plan out what I'm going to do to learn, okay? Different things like that. Creativity is a thinking skill, that's true. Yep, so exactly as Jason is saying in the chat box, thinking's not an isolated skill, okay? It relates to everything, almost everything that we do. Pretty much everything on this list involves thinking to a greater or lesser extent. And what we're going to do today is talk about specifically cause and effect and building up that relationship of thinking between things, okay? So developing the ways our students can talk about those things. Okay, so we'll come back to this list later on. I'm going to erase these items for the moment. Let me get rid of those. And we're going to jump into the classroom presentation tool today to take a look at some of our content. This is from a program called Reach Higher. It's a content-based English program. It has higher language expectations on the students. This one is designed for students around about grade 3, primary 3 sort of age. Okay, So I'll slip into teacher mode and you can be my students. And so what do you see here in this picture on the screen? What do we see? What can we see here? In the chat box, let me know. What can we see? Trash, Lizanette, yes, indeed. There's a lot of trash there. Someone's saying there's a polar bear, a conflict between human existence and nature. Yeah. Junk in nature, true. Garbage and pollution, yeah. There is the soil there. Polar bears in the heat, says Beatrix. Yeah, true, right? Two polar bears and trash, yeah. So this doesn't look like the natural environment where they normally live, is it, right? Do you have any idea where this might be? It says down at the bottom here, it's the Arctic. The Arctic's a big place, right? Where do you think? Which countries touch on the Arctic? So you've got like Canada, Alaska, which is part of America. You've got Norway, Sweden, maybe. You've got Russia, Finland, those kinds of countries, right? Maybe it's in Canada. Yeah, I don't know, right? But the point is here, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the environment and these polar bears are trying to live there, right? And does this look like, here it says nature's balance, right? If something is balanced, it's like even, right? Or if we've got too much of something, then it gets unbalanced one way or the other, right? So do you think in this situation, the polar bear's environment, where the polar bears live, do you think it's in balance or do you think it's not? Do you think it's out of balance? What do you think? Yeah, it looks like it's out of balance. I tend to agree. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks, Lizanette, right? So let's have a think about down here. When you look at this picture, actually, just before we do this, when you look at this picture, how do you feel? How do you feel about this? Now, one of the things we can do in our content here, oops, sorry, I've got too many windows popping open, is we've got tools that go along with this content, including teaching resources that are part of the Spark platform that I'm using with the classroom presentation tool. And one of those is this one here. It's language frames, okay? And language frames give our students a good way to start talking about something, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to here, right? And using one of the language frames from that, that document, if I switch screens and jump over to my whiteboard, which is here, I say, when you look at that picture, how do you feel? How do you feel? How does that picture make you feel? And you can say, I am like sad, or oh, sorry, that's the wrong color, isn't it? I am sad or I am happy because da, 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 or I feel blah, blah, blah because, right? Okay, so Shirley feels sad, but Shirley, I don't just want you to tell me one word. I want you to say, Shirley, I feel sad because, and then what can you tell me? Okay. So language frames are a good way to coach our students into using expanded sentences and more developed grammar, right? Okay, so how did that picture with the polar bears? Okay, so Trungthi says, I feel sad because the environment is threatened. Great. That's a really good sentence, Trungthi. Very nice. Yeah, what else? What else have we got? Luzanette, I feel sad because that is not natural for them. Yeah, that is not nice for them, right? And this way you can see everybody's going to use different language, but the point is you're getting across a feeling also with a because, and this is important. We're going to be talking a lot about because today. So really I'm using this language frame as a warm-up. Alan says, I feel frustrated because I cannot do anything about it. Yeah, right? We feel bad for those polar bears. Jason, I feel conflicted because I love technology, but it creates, what else? What did you say? Creates destruction and conflicts with nature, indeed. I feel concerned. It's not a safe environment. I feel concerned because nature has been severely damaged. I feel guilty because they have to suffer that situation created by humans. Yeah, exactly. So many different feelings we can have about that picture, okay? Now, if we jump back over to here, you can see down the bottom here, there is a big question, okay? We're going to take a quick look at this one. What happens when nature loses its balance? Now, if I was to open this up, it will give me a diagram here, a concept map that I can fill in with my students, and we can work away on this one. But what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to do it there. I'm going to switch to my whiteboard again because I've got it set up on my whiteboard over here. I've got it set, oh, it's way down here. I've got it set up here. We're going to look at the concept map. But I think before we do the concept map, before we do that, we need to learn a little bit more vocabulary, okay? So I'm going to jump back up. I prepared some vocabulary. Now, this vocabulary comes from the unit, okay? These are the key vocabulary items that are in this part of the unit. So let's just take a look at the words really quickly. We've got up here, we've got ecosystems, okay? So here's a river ecosystem and a plains ecosystem, right? And we've got the word river. We've got the word food chain, okay? We've got drought, and the level of something, the water level, okay? So quickly in the chat box, I think, which words here do you know? Tell me which words you know. You know what that word is. And if you know it, then maybe you can help me make a quick sentence. Yeah, Jason, that's true. And we're not getting too stressed on that, defining that at the moment. We're going to come back to that. We're going to keep developing that thought along the way. We don't have to get it all right at the beginning today. Okay. So if you know what one of these words is, can you make a sentence to show me that you know what that word means? Crocodiles are at the top of the food chain, says Will. That's right. So if you've got a crocodile, here's a crazy looking crocodile. That's a crocodile. Truly it is, right? Then he eats, what does he eat? He eats big fish, and then the big fish eat the little fish, and then the little fish eat the plants and other things that are in the water. And so that is a food chain, right? The small things get eaten by the bigger things. That's a food chain. So if my students don't know what that is, we'll just do one quickly. The ecosystem is under threat as food chains are disrupted. Which ecosystem, Jason? Give me a specific example of an ecosystem. Maybe you would say the forest ecosystem, or the plains ecosystem, or the ocean ecosystem, the coast ecosystem, right? Very good, yeah. So Earth is not an ecosystem. Earth is the whole thing, right? Yeah, so ecosystems are connected part of nature, right? Okay, and we can go through and we can do that with all the words, okay? Now, the words on the right-hand side, you can see there are more here. There are 5, and here I don't have a definition, I just have a picture. So competition, right? Nature, negative, positive, and resources. Now, for negative and positive, when you look at this, do you feel happy or sad? Do you feel good or do you feel not good? So for this one might say, yeah, this one makes me feel not good, right? When you see this picture, well, we don't feel bad, do we? So maybe we feel kind of good. And so this is what some of these pictures relate to. But again, I'm not trying to give too many hints. Maybe I've already taught the vocabulary in an earlier lesson. I'll show you how the pacing works later, and you'll see how there's so much that we're going over here. But if we just take a look down, I have a task for you. And the task, again, goes back to one of these teacher resources. So if I jump back to here and I show you this teacher resource, there is a teacher resource which lays out all of the words with example sentences. And so I took that teacher resource and I stuck it into my whiteboard and I covered up all of the key words. Okay, but we still have these ones down here that we can move around. Now, I'm doing this digitally. You could have done this with, paper. You could just use some whiteout on the sentences, and then you can cut up words, or you can write the words out, and we can have a go at finding which ones go where. Okay, so if you look at these ones, I'll number the sentences just to make life a little easier. So we'll call that 1, 2, 3. Which of the words in the bottom here, which of those words at the bottom go with which sentence? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 words, 10 sentences. Which one goes where? Which word goes where? So the words at the bottom, we've got competition, level, ecosystem, positive, river, food chain, negative, drought, nature, and resources. Number 1, you think is competition. Okay, so, that didn't work. Let's chuck that one up there, competition. Okay. Sorry, do that again, competition. Number 10 is river, you think? Okay, so let's move river over there. Number 2 is drought, you think? Okay, so let's put drought there. I'll stick it aside. What other ones, right? And we can go through this whole activity and check them off. And then we can uncover and we can see, oh, what is that word? Oh, well done. We got competition, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this kind of activity with your students so that they can go through and like brush up or relearn vocabulary. One of the things you do in this kind of program is you're always reusing vocabulary. You're always reinforcing the meanings, the definitions, the usage in a sentence, the grammar structure that they usually fall into, things like that. Okay, very good. So now that we've done that, great. Now that we know some of these words like competition and resources and ecosystem and food chain, let's go down now and let's actually do the concept map. So the question is, what happens when nature loses its balance? We now know some of the vocabulary we might need. So let's, oh, thanks, Jason. I'll check that out later on. Okay. Okay, it affects biodiversity. Oh, okay, radio. So let's write that one down. So it affects biodiversity. Okay, what else have we got? What else happens when nature loses its balance? So it affects biodiversity. So different plants and animals become in different regions, right? You either get more of them or less of them or different ones coming in. Things can die off, right? So things, plants or animals can die off, right? Yeah, we can get some radical changes, right? Like all of a sudden we have this plant and it just takes over everything, right? And it kills off a lot of other plants, or the animal life can't eat it or something. There's lots of things like that. Any other ones? So at this stage, just be aware, doing this with the students, it might be kind of limited as to what they understand about the topic at this stage, right? Okay, we get endangered species, right? Okay, so the point here is we're getting a baseline understanding of what they kind of think about this topic, but it's not going to be complete. And we're going to develop this concept map more. By the end of a unit, they should be able to express a lot more on the concept map around this idea. Okay, extinction of species, endangerment of species, right? Okay, good. Let's just put that one there as well. Extinct. Okay, great. So now that we've got that, okay, let me jump back. We're going to jump back to Classroom Presentation Tool, which is not this, it's over here. But I just want to show you. So today I've done a couple of things so far off this page, but this unit is huge. If I jump to the pacing guide, which is here, let's say I'm doing this many hours per week. There are so many pieces of a particular unit here. You can see there's lots and lots and lots of pieces. I'm touching on little bits. I'm doing a little bit of the thinking map. I'm going to be doing the reading selection. I'm going to be doing a read and something activity. I'm going to be picking and choosing from here, right? So this lesson may feel a little bit bitsy or a little bit granulated, but I do have a direction that I'm going today, which is developing thinking and cause and effect ideas, okay? So I'm just picking pieces that suit me today, but this is not going to look exactly like what you do in class, okay? But let's go forward anyway. So what I'm going to do now is I have to jump through a whole lot of pages that have already been done. Okay, this is like the first half of the unit. You'll have read all of this and done all of this already. There's some funny little stories and things there. Okay, and then we get up to this part. Now, these are the words on the right-hand side. You can see these are the words that we actually looked at. So we looked at these words earlier, okay, and cause and effect. We'll come to that in a second. And then more keywords. We've looked at these ones as well, okay? But now what we want to do is we want to talk about what is cause and effect, okay? So a cause makes something happen and an effect is what happens, okay? So a cause might be, for example, I forgot my homework, and then the effect is the teacher is angry. Okay, or the cause could be I got 100 on my test, and the effect is I am happy and my teacher is also happy because I got 100, right? Okay, so cause and effect, right? Now, let's take a look. Again, we're not going to try and get into too much detail here. We'll do some more by example, right? So let me jump back to my whiteboard where I have an example. and it comes from this activity where Rico was right. This is in the content, okay? And it says here, Rico and I went to the beach. We saw waves crash on the rocks. Some water stayed between the rocks. Rico said, that pool of trapped water is called a tide pool. He pointed to crabs and starfish in a tide pool. Be careful, he said, a crab can pinch your finger. I got too close and a crab pinched me. Rico was right. Okay, so if I look at the pictures, which are here we can see we've got water trapped in the rocks, and so we've got a tide pool, okay? So what I want to do, if I jump back to my whiteboard, I want to think about why did a tide pool happen? Why did a tide pool happen? Why did we get a tide pool, right? So there are two things here. It says ocean water gets trapped in rocks and a tide pool forms. So why did a tide pool form? Why did a tide pool form? In the chat box, why did that happen? How did we get the tide pool? How did we get the tide pool? So we got it because ocean water gets trapped in rocks. Okay, so the tide pool, which one goes first? Which one starts first? Which one is number one and which one is number two? Is number one ocean water gets trapped in rocks, or is number one a tide pool forms? So the ocean is number one. This is number one and this is number two. That's the sequence, right? That's the sequence, okay? But if I want to say, why did something happen, right? Then I would say a tide pool forms because ocean water gets trapped in rocks, okay? Cool. Now, if we look at these two, remember this one was number one and this one was number two. This one happened first. We have cause and effect. Do you remember cause and effect? Let's go back and look at the definition, cause and effect. So a cause makes something happen. An effect is what happens, okay? So if I look, which one is the cause and which one is the effect? Which one is cause? Which one is cause? So Crystal, okay. So the cause, the effect is what happens, right? The cause is why did it happen? What made it happen? So this one is the cause and this one is the effect. Okay, now look at this. We've got cause and because, right? So you can see these two go together like this way. Okay, so effect, because, cause. Okay, cool. So the ocean water gets trapped in the rocks is the cause and the effect is what happens. Okay, now if we, let me move these ones out the road. Oh, actually, I'll just leave them there. If you look at the little piece of reading here, can you see another cause and effect? Can you see something happened because of something else? Can you see another one? Pinched finger. Okay, so we've got a pinched finger. Okay. Now, is that the cause or the effect? Good. So Hanhao's saying, I got too close, so I got pinched, right? So we could say, I got a pinched finger. Let me do it this way, because I got too close, right? Okay, so this one is the cause, I got too close, and this one is the effect, just like above. Now, Hanhao, you used so, right? So with so, you go the other way around, right? I got too close, so I got a pinched finger. Today, I want to focus, we could use that structure, right? Then it would be cause, so, effect. But I want to focus on using the word because, okay? So I'm going to stick with that structure today. And if a student gives me so, then I'm going to change it into the because structure, okay? Because I want to focus on that one for consistency. But great example, though. Okay, now Trungti is saying another one. I am tired because I have not eaten breakfast. Really? Oh no. Okay, so there's another example from your own life, right? Does anyone have another example? Or can you see any more in the reading? Can you see any more in the reading? So remember, this one's interesting. We said this one is number one and this one is number two in the sequence, right? This one happens first and then this one happens second. I can see another one here. It says, let's see. We saw waves crash, okay? And then a crab pinched my finger. It pinched me, right? So we saw the waves happen first, right? That's number one. And then number two is I got a pinched finger. That's number two. Is that cause and effect? Did I get a pinched finger because I saw waves? Does that make sense or is that crazy? That doesn't work, does it? Right? Yeah, okay. So this is a sequence, but it is not a cause and effect. I can't say I got a pinched finger because I saw waves. No, that doesn't make sense, right? Okay, that doesn't make sense. Okay, good. Yeah, not connected. Good. So I want to give a few examples where it works and a few examples where it doesn't work so that my students can start building up the idea without me having to explain it. And as Trungti said, if we can use examples from your own life, like I am tired because I have not eaten breakfast, right? Or I am sad because I was late for class today, right? These sorts of things, right, will help the students build context, right? Jason, yeah, I saw waves crash on the rocks because we went to the beach. Yeah, okay. So I saw the waves. It's not, and this is another interesting one. There's one about waves crashed. Okay. We went to the beach. Okay. So did waves crash because I went to the beach? The answer would be no, but we saw waves because we went to the beach. Oh, okay, that makes sense. If I don't go to the beach, I can't see waves, right? Okay, so sometimes you have to show students some kind of crazy examples to get them to understand when it doesn't work and why it doesn't link up. Okay, thank you, Del. Very nice. Okay. Good. Yes, we can, Alan. That's true. Use true-false statements to design a much more controlled or scaffolded activity for the learners. It's good, right? Very nice. Okay, so now that we understand that idea, what we're going to do is we're going to jump back to here, cause and effect. I think we've got it now. So here we've got a cause and effect diagram. Ocean water gets trapped in the rocks means a tide pool forms. Now, in the way that I think it was Han Hao said before, ocean water gets trapped in the rocks, so a tide pool forms, right? But remember today I want to do the because structure, so I'm turning it around. A tide pool forms because ocean water gets trapped in the rocks, okay? But the diagram helps us understand the order and also what links, what joins with an arrow, okay? Great. So now that we understand that, what we're going to do is we're going to jump through and we're going to look at a reading to try and understand. We're going to skip all this stuff. There's a lot here, right? We're going to jump to a science article, okay? And this science article is non-fiction. It means it's true. It's not made up. It's true, okay? It explains why things happen in nature. It explains cause and effect, okay? And it has a timeline in it. It shows you a timeline of what happened and when it happened, right? So these times are a long time ago, right? That's 100 years ago. Look, 1923. Wow. Okay. So let's take a look at the article. Now, I have taken out some of the words and phrases, and you have to help me figure out what goes there as we read through. Okay. We're going to read through one time first and maybe answer a couple of questions, and then we're going to come back and we're going to reread it again, and then we're going to talk about cause and effect. Okay, and we're going to build up a diagram to go along with that. Okay, When the Wolves Returned, adapted from a book by Dorothy Hinshaw Patent. Okay, here we go. Okay, so if you know Yellowstone National Park, it's here in America. Okay, it's up in the Northwest, and it has waterfalls and geysers and lots of things there, okay? Okay, where would you go to see some of Earth's natural wonders? You might go to a place called Yellowstone. In Yellowstone, geysers shoot steam high into the air and waterfalls flow into colorful canyons. All kinds of wildlife roam the land. This special place became the world's first national park in 1872. Okay, now I know you might be looking at this and saying for grade 3, some of my students would definitely not be able to do that. We'll read that. That's okay. This program is designed for students who are achieving more towards maybe like IGCSE in the future or something like that, primary years program from the British system, or working kind of a Common Core kind of standards in the US system, or students who use English at home a lot more, right? So this is one of our more able, higher ability programs, okay? But a lot of students would be able to tackle that, maybe with some of these words that we need to show them, like geysers, right? But anyway, so this is just introducing it. Okay, let's look at the second page. Well, I'm going through this quickly because we really want to just focus on the cause and effect ideas today. Okay, trouble with wolves. Okay, so we've got some nice wolves here. They look pretty cute. Okay, the purpose of making Yellowstone a national park was to protect its natural wonders for visitors. People enjoyed seeing animals like elk and deer in the park too, but wolves fed on them. So hunters were paid to kill the wolves. What do you think happened then? The wolves fed on elk and deer, so hunters were paid to kill the wolves. What do you think goes under here? Do you have any idea what might go under there? Any ideas? What's under the purple here? Oh, something about disrupting the ecosystem, Jason. I like it. Nice. The wolves became fewer. Okay. Right. The wolves became fewer because hunters were paid to kill the wolves. Yeah. That could be true, right? Now, I'm not going to uncover that one just yet. I'm going to uncover all the others, but this one sentence is a little different. We'll look at that one at the end. Okay. Good. Let's go to the next page. Oh, and you can see our timeline. Okay. So 1872, we have the national park. And then in 1924, hunters start to kill the wolves, okay? Hundreds of wolves. Okay, so let's take a look at what's on the next page here. Okay, so here we've got some elk. Okay, these are called elk, big, really big deer, or well, not deer exactly, but like deer. Okay, and down here we've got a fox. Okay, so let's see. By 1926, the wolves were all gone. Wow. Okay. So not just that there's fewer and fewer, it's like there are no wolves in the park. That's crazy. Okay, all the wolves are gone. Without wolves to hunt them, the number of elk, what word goes here? To control the elk population, rangers trapped them and sent them to other parks. Rangers also had to shoot and kill the elk to keep their numbers down. Okay, so Munayan says they increased, right? So if I grab my eraser here, let me grab my eraser and we'll check actually what I can do is I can use I don't need the eraser, I can use this tool here. So I can just use this one. So yes, they increased, well done. Okay, the numbers of elk increased, they got more elk. So now they shot all the wolves, now they have to shoot the elk as well. Oh, okay, radio. Okay, let's look at the next page. Jump ahead. So here we've got, what have we got here? Here we've got a coyote. Okay, coyotes also increased in number. Without at the top of the food chain, they became Yellowstone's main predator. So they is the coyotes. The coyotes became Yellowstone's main predator. Coyotes eat everything from elk calves to insects, but mostly they eat small animals like ground squirrels. So coyotes made it harder for other small predators like foxes to find food. Oh, remember we have the fox here. He's smaller. The coyote is bigger, and so the coyote's stealing the food. Okay, so what word do you think goes here in the purple? What word's in the purple there? Without what? At the top of the food chain, like alligators. Yeah, without wolves, good. At the top of the food chain, great. Okay, nice. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. Okay, we've got these creatures. These are called pronghorns. You can see the name at the bottom here, pronghorns. Okay, come here. Okay, Coyotes in Yellowstone also fed on newborn pronghorns. They became experts at finding pronghorn fawns. With so many coyotes in the park, pronghorn numbers, what do you think? What did they do? Every year, something pronghorn fawns survived. Park managers worried that pronghorns might completely, okay, what are some of the words you think that go here? So the numbers decreased, there are fewer of them. Yeah, they dropped, good. Yeah. So all going down, right? Yeah, and then here you've said disappear, Del. Yeah, I think that's right. Let's take a look. Very good. They dropped, the numbers dropped, fewer fawns survived, and maybe they will disappear as well. Well done. Okay, very nice. You guys are good at guessing the words, right? Grade 3 students love to get the words right. Trust me, I've done this with them a lot. Okay, next one. Now, here we've got an elk, and what's it eating? It's eating the shoots, the ends of the shrubs and the trees and the bushes, okay? Okay, even trees and shrubs suffered because the wolves were gone. The elk ate young shoots and bark. They're eating the end bits, right? Okay, young trees and shrubs, blah, 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 to replace the old ones that died. Soon, the birds that nested in the trees and bushes, Okay, so what words do we think go here? What phrases go here? What do you think? Okay, so you're saying young trees and shrubs have to grow quickly to replace the ones that die. Do you think they can do that? Do you think they can suddenly say, oh, there's not enough, let's grow more? Right? The birds flew away? Maybe. Could be flew away, Del. Do you think the young trees and shrubs can go, we need to make more of us, so let's grow faster? Do you think they can do that? I'm not sure that they can, right? Let's take a look at what it is. Okay, young trees and shrubs could not grow fast enough. Oh no. And then the birds became rare. There were less and less birds, fewer and fewer birds. Okay, they're not so many. They are becoming rare. Okay, a couple more pages to go. Let's take a look. Beavers. Beavers use their teeth to cut down trees. They store the trees to eat during the winter. They also use trees to help build dams. Beaver dams create ponds that provide homes for ducks and other animals. Without the beavers could not survive. They were almost gone from the park by the 1950s. Okay, what word goes here? What word goes here? Trees, very good. There we go. Without the trees, because the trees are all going, because they're getting eaten by the elk and they can't grow fast enough. Oh no. Oh man. Okay, what about this one? Oops. Here we go. Many of the problems in the park began soon after the wolves were eliminated. Scientists predicted that bringing wolves back would, what will it do? If the wolves come back, what do you think will happen? Will work, okay, will solve, will help restore the ecosystem, nice, okay. Let the plants and animals grow and live, someone might say. Be good for the environment, very good. What does it say? That would help, yeah, wolves could control the numbers of coyotes and elk. They would allow the other plants and animals to live and grow, nice. Okay, so let's take a look, next one. So let's see what happened. Wolves from Canada were brought to Yellowstone in 1995 and 1996. 7 groups of wolves were set free in the park. Each pack lived in a wide area called a territory. What's a pack? A pack is, if I go to the next page, a pack is a group of wolves like you can see here. This is a wolf pack, okay? And a pack can make lots of wolf puppies like these ones, right? It didn't take long for the wolves to feel at home. There were a lot of animals, especially elk, for them to hunt. Year by year, the number of wolves in Yellowstone, what word goes here? When a pack became too big, it broke into smaller packs. The groups slowly filled the park. Now about 12 wolf packs live in Yellowstone. There are usually 150 wolves in the park. Okay, so you've got the word increased. It's a pretty short word. Let's see what it is. It grew. Yeah, that's the same as increased. Very nice. Good. Let's look at the next one. Okay. So that's just a lovely picture of the wolves, okay? Right, nature's balance returns, let's see. Wolves saw the coyotes as competition. They something coyotes. Now with coyotes hunting them, pronghorn and other animals survived more easily. Foxes, owls, and other animals also benefit. There are fewer coyotes to compete with them for the same food. Because remember, the coyotes eat the small animals like squirrels and rats and things like that as well. Yeah. Without wolves, elk lingered along the streams and park. They ate young trees before they had a chance to grow. Okay. Now the elk must something. This makes it harder for wolves to find them. Because the elk are moving, trees can, right? So up here, you're thinking it's fight. They fight the coyotes? Maybe. Yeah. Could be, right? What about down here with the elk? Now the elk must do something so the trees can grow more. They hunt the coyotes? Could be, right? Yeah. So there's a lot more words here as we go through. So you can see they killed the coyotes or chased them out of the territory. Now there's fewer coyotes, right? And down here, before, without the wolves, the elves could, linger, but now they have to keep moving. Otherwise, they get eaten by the wolves, right? So now the trees have time to grow again. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. And there's the wolves. Okay, we've got a couple more pages left, and then we're done. Okay. So animals that needed trees also something. For example, in 1996, only one beaver colony lived in the northern part of the park, but by 2003, there were 9. Scientists hope that birds that hunt from trees like owls will also become more common. So I think you can see here, the animals that needed trees were also like growing, thriving, developing. Yeah, they're coming back, right? We're getting more of them. Okay, and finally, up here, returning the wolf is helping make Yellowstone something. Scientists hope that as years go by, even more plants and animals will come back. Today, Yellowstone is becoming something again, thanks to the wolf's return. What ideas do you think go here? More balanced, yeah, something like that, right? Yellowstone is whole again. It is a healthy system again. Yeah, great. Okay, so this is what happened. Let's look at the timeline. So in the beginning, many wolves live and hunt in the park. Then hunters kill hundreds of wolves and coyotes become the main predator. Pronghorn numbers drop. Elk destroy the trees and beavers disappear. This does not sound good. Okay, the wolves come back to Yellowstone and now nature's balance improves. That's what's happening. Okay, great. So many things that we read about in there, and you guys are pretty good at guessing a lot of the words. So let's go right back to the beginning. Boom, we're going to go right back to here again. Way back to when we started, the first national park here, okay? But now what we're going to do is we're going to have a think about, if I go down here, cause and effect. So what happened and what did that make happen next? What was the effect of something, right? What was the effect? So let's see, we've got 5 here that we're going to try and do. Let's see if we can find maybe one on a page. So in the beginning here, this is just the introduction, right? Nothing fancy there, okay? Okay, this is just describing it. Okay, so then down here, okay, what can we see? The purpose of making Yellowstone a national park was to protect its natural wonders from visitors. People enjoyed seeing animals like elk and deer in the park too, but wolves fed on them, so hunters were paid to kill the wolves. Park officials did not understand that killing the wolves would throw nature out of balance. That was the one that was hidden before. They didn't know that this was going to make things bad. Okay, so let's see. From this one, can we do a cause and effect? Can we do a cause and effect? So if I said, let's say I went, hunters went into the park. Okay, to hunt wolves. And what's the effect of that? There could be many effects, but what's an effect of hunters go in and hunt the wolves? What happens? What's an effect? Yeah, so the population, that's a good word. If the students just say something like number or the amount, that's totally fine as well. The population of wolves, okay? And then you said dropped, okay? I could also say decreased, right? But let's use dropped. Okay, that's great. Okay, so we've got a cause and we've got an effect. And we could say the population of wolves dropped because hunters went into the park to hunt wolves. Remember, we're trying to use our because structure. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, great. Let's jump back. Let's see if we can find another one on the next page. Okay, right, so what have we got here? Yellowstone without wolves. Okay, by 1926, the wolves were all gone. Without wolves to hunt them, the number of elk increased. To control the elk population, rangers trapped them and sent them to other parks. Rangers also had to shoot and kill the elk to keep their numbers down. Okay, so from this one, what's a cause and effect we can do? Now we're just getting lots of practice at doing cause and effect because this is the way the students really understand it, right? So what cause can we put in here? I'll go back to the text for a moment so you can see it. There it is. Okay, so Holly's saying there's at least two. That's great. Just give me one, Holly. One's enough. The elk increased. Now, is that a cause or an effect? Where do you want to put that? So give me the two pieces, the cause and the effect. What's the cause and what's the effect? Because as Holly says, there are many. Okay, the cause is because the wolves are gone. Okay. Yeah, so Dell, you've got a different one, right? Yeah, okay. So there's quite a few things here. It's like without the wolves, the number of elk increased. That's a cause and effect, right? Because the number of elk increased, then the hunters started to send them to other parks and trap them and kill them, right? So that's making more work for the people, more work for the rangers, right? So let's choose the one. The cause is there are no wolves, okay, in the park. That's the cause. And then the effect can be there are lots more elk in the park. Okay. Cool. So that's a cause and effect, right? Nice. Very good. Okay. Let's jump back. Let's look at the next page. Now, there could be another one here. You could talk about the rangers as well, but let's skip that one. Let's go to the next page. Okay. Coyotes also increased in numbers. Without wolves at the top of the food chain, they became Yellowstone's main predator. Coyotes eat insects, from elk calves to insects, but mostly they eat small animals. So coyotes made it harder for other small predators like foxes. Okay, so let's see if we can do a cause and effect that's not about the wolves. That's not directly about the wolves. So what's the cause and effect we can do for this one? What can we say? Coyotes increased in number. Good. That's a cause. Increased in number. That's a good one. Okay. Yeah, we're trying to, I've got yours, Liz, in there, but we want to try and use one without saying wolves, right? Just to be different. So coyotes increased in number. What's the effect of the coyotes increasing in number? So it says something that's about harder for something. What was it harder for? Harder for something else to maybe find food and live. Yes, competition, right? Yeah. So it's harder for, I think it said foxes, right? So you take the wolves away, coyotes go up. Now the foxes are going down as well. Okay. Now, without looking at the text, can we think of two more cause and effects that happened? Without looking at the text, can we think of two more? Can we think of two more? Let's see if we can think of two more. So we could say a cause maybe is elk eat more young trees. And stop them growing. What's an effect of that? What was an effect of elk eat more young trees and stop them from growing? What's an effect of that? Good, yes, nice. So then the birds have no place to nest. And so they become rare. Okay, good one, nice, good. So yeah, you could put the trees in the middle, right? Okay, because you could say the elk eat the trees, so there are fewer trees, so there are less birds, right? Okay, and then there are less birds because there are fewer trees because the elk eats them. Okay, right? So you can go that way as well using our because structure. Okay, last one. Can we think of one more? Can we think of one more? If I flick through the pages real fast, let's see, was there one more here? Maybe you can get it from the pictures. All right, so there was that one, there was this one, this picture, I think we just talked about that one, there's that one, there's that one. Okay, so from those other pictures there, can you think of another one? An unbalanced food chain, nice, okay, so if we go back, that's a big idea. You've got a big idea there, Raina, right? So the wolves are gone, means that the effect is the food chain is unbalanced. Nice. It's not a strong ecosystem, right? Good, okay. And then what we can do is we can practice our way back through these ones and make sure they all make sense using our because structure, right? So for example, birds have no place to nest and become rare because elk eat more young trees and stop them growing. That makes sense, right? Okay, the food chain is unbalanced because the wolves are gone. Okay, there are lots more elk in the park because there are no wolves in the park. And so we can get our students to go around, maybe do some sort of student-centered activity and get them to verbalize all of these things. If this is on the board, all they really have to do is read them off. But what they're doing is they're repeating the kind of cause and effect statements that we want them to learn, you know, how these things are linked together and why they work. Okay. And then once we've done that, once the students have had a lot more maybe student-centered practice with that, then what we can do is we can go back to our concept map again. Okay. So why did Yellowstone go out of balance, right? So when nature lost its balance in Yellowstone, what happened? Now, can we put some more ideas on our tree here, right? So what ideas can you give me now that we can put on our tree? Because if you remember, this is what we did right back at the beginning. We said some of these things, okay, but what else do we have down here? What do we have at the bottom now? What ideas can we put on our tree? So maybe one that we said before is species die off, but it's not all of them, is it? So maybe it's some species die off and some they increase, right? That you get more of some, right? If you took the wolves away, then we got more elk, for example, right? Okay, what else could we do here? What else, when nature loses its balance, what else happens? I guess you could link this one. Someone before said biodiversity changes, right? It doesn't always get worse. Oh, well, sorry, it does get worse, but that means some species will grow, will have more of them, right? Okay, very good, Holly. I like it. Some species have to change their habitat. Okay, because the habitat that they're in is changing, right? So maybe we could add that one too. It's like the habitat changes. And some animals have to adapt to that or they have to move, right? They're forced to leave. That's true. What else? What else could we say? What other ideas do we now have in our nature's balance here? So here we could say humans can harm the balance. That's true, right? Humans can hurt it. Humans can also be affected. That's true. We're also affected because we are part of nature, right? Very good, right? Yep, good one. So someone's here said the forest or a habitat in general gets smaller. That's true. But one thing here, we just said humans can harm the balance of nature, but we can also repair the balance. We can try and do things to restore the balance, to repair nature, to make it good again, right? We can help it go back to some kind of balance. Good, yeah. So it's not all hopeless, right? There are things we can do, and then we can get into a big discussion about what did the humans do, right? And what could we do maybe in our own situations to help nature in our area, right? Well, maybe with more trees or planting different things or taking care of animals or not creating so much garbage and pollution, right? Lots of things we might be able to do. Okay, so I hope that gives you an idea. Again, that was pretty quick. I do agree. I was going through some ideas pretty rapidly there. But if we jump back and we think about this, which of these skills do you think we touched on in terms of the thinking skills? What thinking skills did we touch on here? So did we do critical thinking, for example? Right, well, if we're doing cause and effect, then yeah, that's critical thinking, right? Oops, sorry, wrong button. What happened there? There we go. So we looked at decision making. So maybe we weren't making decisions, but we were looking at decisions that were made, weren't we? When we were understanding the consequences or the effects of those decisions, right? Yeah, some logical reasoning and the critical thinking there. Right? Very good. We're looking at a problem, right? And how it happened, and then maybe how we can solve that problem, and maybe we can come up with more ideas in our own situation. So we could talk about that one too. Yeah. Leadership, maybe. Yeah, we could say maybe there's some leadership in there. It doesn't really talk about the people very much, does it? It just talks a little bit about rangers and scientists, but not much else. Yeah, okay. Creativity, maybe. I mean, maybe we can think of other creative solutions to try and solve some of these problems that are going on where nature is out of balance for us. Maybe we focus on that image of the polar bears and the industrial waste, the garbage, the trash, and maybe we try and problem solve it or think creatively about how to fix that. Or maybe we say, what can we do? Maybe is there some decisions we can encourage people to make? I'm not sure, right? Yeah, you can always include collaboration. We can think together. That's nice. Yeah. Digital literacy, yeah, not so much today, but yeah, we could add in a little bit there as well. Okay. So yeah, excuse me. Lots of different things we can try to do to encourage thinking skills. But if you notice in this lesson, I was using a lot of examples. I wasn't explaining anything too deeply, but we're trying to get the students to understand the concepts and the kind of the flows and the idea of cause and effect by using lots of examples, right? And that's a good way to do it, is by using examples that show what you want and examples that show the opposite and pointing out where it works and where it doesn't, like sequence versus cause and effect, for example. Then over time, the students build up that knowledge. Even if they can't express it directly, they don't know exactly why, but they feel the right way about it, then that's building up their knowledge in ways to think and ways to do things. Okay, good. Okay, so now developing thinking skills, sometimes it's a bit of hard work. There's a famous quote I'll just share with you from Henry Ford. Thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason so few engage in it. He says not that many people think very hard, right? I don't know about yourself. Sometimes I feel that way. But if you're wanting to look at how to encourage thinking skills in your classroom as well, there are a couple of webinars by this gentleman here. His name is John Hughes. He literally wrote a book called Critical Thinking in the English Language Teaching Classroom. And you can see a couple of his webinars here. If you go to this webpage, which is the National Geographic Learning global page, global webinars page, then on that page, you will be able to find access to John's videos and a lot of other ones there. But these two specifically, if you're wanting to look at ways to include more thinking and tasks around that into your classes, then definitely check out John's webinars here. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick look at Q&A in a second. Thank you, Will. And so Dell's asking, is the book very deep? We need some simple ones. Okay, so yes, this one is a very different level of material. Actually, if I just drop the link and you can check out the material for yourself. Here it is. And I will send this to you later as well. This program doesn't really fit the CEFRA level. So Alan's question, which CEFRA level is this unit designed for? It doesn't really align with the CEFRA levels. And the reason for that is the CEFRA levels are really more about teaching English as a foreign language to people who have another language as their first language. This particular program, the one that I'm sharing with you here, is a little bit more of going more towards an English medium instruction program or a content-based English kind of program. It's very, a lot more like Common Core State Standards, right? This material, the exact material that I'm showing you, has been used in American classrooms for the purposes of assisting students who need to bridge a little bit higher to get towards their classmates, okay, because their own English ability is not quite so good. It very strongly focuses on reading and writing, on literacy, on developing content, and developing thinking skills as well, okay? And building up language skills along the way, okay? Very good. Yeah, so Han Hao, you say, I'm using Reach Higher level 1 and it has cause and effect. That's true. Why do you think? I was using level 3 and it has cause and effect, right? Why do you think level 1 has cause and effect, like grade 1, and level 3 also has cause and effect? Because we need to keep practicing it with our students. They may have the basic idea. We need to keep coming back to it, and they need to keep seeing it in text to really understand how does a piece of reading, something someone has written, try and explain some of these ideas, like cause and effect, like describing things, like trying to persuade you to their way of thinking, right? There's lots and lots of formats and ways of doing that, but the main ideas of like cause and effects and understanding, comparing and contrasting two situations, these keep getting practiced through all the levels of these kinds of programs. Okay, cool. So yeah, Han Hao, in 1B, some of the questions would just be simpler, right? They would be a more direct relationship that's a lot easier to see. This one had many, many things going on with wolves and elk and beavers and trees and foxes and coyotes, many, many things, right? But in level 1 or level 2, lower levels, then it would be a lot more like this happens, right? There is a cause and effect. There are only two things to worry about, okay? And it's a lot more of a direct relationship, okay? Good. Okay, Quintran's asking, do you have any suggestions for activities for students to practice cause and effect structures in a writing class? Okay, again, I'd say, Quintran, go back to the idea, as I was doing, of using a structure, just like something because something, right? Or you can use so, you can use the reverse structure, right? But I would have my students in writing, right? I would get my students to say, I want to see you use those conjunctions like because and so to link your ideas, right? That's what I do in a writing class. I would say, I want to see you use because or so at least this many times, right? In a piece of writing, right? That encourages the students to put those things in there and to make sure that they're linking ideas together with kind of cause and effect like that, okay? And you can do it for any relationship, right? You can do it with prepositions of time, right? Things like that as well. Telling a story, right? There's lots of nice language frames for that as well, okay? So lots of different things that you can get out of that as well. Okay, Will's dropping a few links in the chat box. Thank you, Will. Okay, so you can go and check out some of those things, okay? But just to wrap up a little bit more today, let me jump down here. Because we are out of time, I will send you a recording link to today's session plus a certificate tomorrow. So if you joined the session on Zoom, I will send those things to you. You will get them tomorrow. You can fill your own name into the certificate. There are instructions on how to do that if you're not sure how. Okay. We do have more webinars coming up. Next week, Will has a webinar. Now, this one will be interesting because it's ready for work, conflict management. This might be useful for your own lives. This might be useful for managing your classes, right? So check this one out. How is Will going to talk about managing conflict next week on the 19th? Okay, very good. But apart from that, I am happy to stick around a little bit longer and answer some more questions. In the email I will send you tomorrow will be more information about the program and ways to get in touch with us. But any more questions? If any of you have to go, feel free to head away. Yeah, we'll let you enjoy your day, but I am happy to answer a few more questions if there are. Alan, if you're still here, I'll just mention that if you go and look at the webpage for this program, it does have a CIFAR scale listed on it. However, it's not super accurate because this program doesn't really line up with CIFAR in the same sort of way. In some ways, the thinking skills and the language skills for this program are above the CIFAR ratings that it will show you on the website. It's hard for this kind of program to fall into CIFAR categories, okay? So just be aware of that one. You will see a scale, but it's probably the lower end of that scale. In other words, the book will sometimes tackle ideas more difficult than what it shows you on the CIFAR chart, okay? Good. Hanhao, yeah, so things like the reason for doing actions, yeah, totally, right? Consequences and things like that, that relates to cause and effect as well. There are things like that in book 3, that's true. Yep. Very good. Dell's saying, hope you could give a live training. Yes, we would like to do that too. Hopefully we'll be in your country soon. Okay. We'd love to be traveling more. We're still a little bit limited by things going on in some places and the needs of the business for us to sit where we're sitting right at the moment. But we hope to see you soon. Okay. Very good. Well, thanks, everyone. I'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do check the recording and look for the certificate tomorrow, and we'll get back in touch with you. Okay? Very good. Thanks, everyone.